Hey, my friends, we did it. And
Right.
all technical challenges aside, everybody, it is Linda Lippin. And we are here for Linda Lippin Live. This week, we are talking about the mindset of showing up. First of all, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Linda Lippin. I am the founder and CEO of Linda Lippin Pilates, where I serve women over 50 who are experiencing osteoporosis and or chronic pain through my online Strong Bones programs, as well as private sessions and classes. I also serve Pilates teachers with business coaching and continuing education through my 1 year trademarked Pilates Teacher Mastermind VIP program. We are live today on, I think, all forms of social media. And we're live in all of my Facebook groups that are devoted to business and Pilates professionals. And today, my friends, I have a fabulous woman for you. Yet another one of my friends from where? From the Advanced Women's Networking Group, which is only like the best group of boss babes, I think, on the internet. Like, I haven't met a better group. I don't know if you have, Brittany, but I have not.
It's,
And
yeah, a fantastic group of women.
it's such a great group of women, and we are here today with Britney Gardner. Now, Britney is a content and marketing strategist, okay? Few markers truly marry their creative and analytical sides. Few Pilates teachers really marry their creative and analytical sides. Brittany has a visual background in photography and graphic design. She has also trained under the top copywriters in the United States. And Brittany pairs her creativity with her strategic mastermind personality. She is an INTJ and Enneagram 8. For those of you who are familiar with those, I am slightly, not really, just telling you, but you might have to explain those for us, Brittany, because, you know, I'm just getting into the whole personality assessment thing. Um, she translates humans and their messy feelings into a visibility plan that makes it easy for those of us running our own online businesses to show up consistently for our people. She is the host of the Know, Like, and Trust Show podcast, the creator of the Be Seen method, where she helps online service business owners craft content that attracts their perfect match clients. And we are so lucky to have her with us today to really delve into the mindset of showing up for Pilates teachers. Brittany, I'm going to hand it over to you. Add to your introduction. Tell us a little more about yourself before we get started.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So funny. You're like, I don't know about the INTJ and Enneagram thing. I can distill that real quick. So my INTJ personality is labeled as the architect, like that's the name that it gave it. And the Enneagram 8 is labeled as the challenger. So I like to say that I'm really good at looking at a whole bunch of mess, seeing the patterns, figuring out where the holes are, and then telling you as the challenger portion, yeah, no, you need to do this and then do this, and then it all gets better. So that's how I kind of use that. And it's one of the reasons why I love talking about content strategy and visibility and showing up for online businesses. It's such an important part of being an online business. Way back in the day, you'd start a business and you'd have to go get a business loan, starting at 50 grand, right? You'd have to lease a brick and mortar location. You'd have to get business insurance, not only for being a business owner, but for, you know, errors and omissions, for having people on premises, all the different things that you'd have to do. And, being online businesses has way smaller cost of entry, but we do have to make up for that a little bit in time. Time is a big factor. And yes, showing up does take time, but it's a very necessary part of your business. And I know what you're probably thinking. Um, hey, Brittany, sounds great, but I don't have time to do that. I am running a business. I am dealing with my family. I am raising my children. And you guys, I hear you. I am with you. I only am able to work about 20 hours a week. I do have two children. I homeschool my older one. My youngest one has special needs. We're in a whole bunch of therapies. And I just simply cannot work more than 20 hours and raise my family the way I've chosen to, at least. So if I can show up consistently in my 20 hours a week, of which usually at least 12 are like full client facing, where I don't even get to deal with admin or building my business, if I can show up consistently in that time period, I promise you can too, with some, maybe mindset adjustments and a few systems and structures in place.
So you're really saying, Brittany, that in, say, your given week of 20 hours a week of working, if 12 hours of those are client facing hours, which I think is relevantly similar to what
Yeah.
most Pilates teachers are doing, that's kind of what my schedule looks like, then you are only devoting 8 hours. Am I right here?
Yes.
Is my math
Yes.
correct? 8 hours out of that week is going to being front
Admin, to
facing and
marketing,
admin in your
to
business.
yeah, to creating anything new in my business, working on new offers, to dealing with that oh so fun tax and accounting issue, right? Like all of that has to get done in about
Yes.
8 hours a week. And yes, that does include things like what we are doing right now. This is me
Yeah.
showing up for my business. This is Linda showing up for your
And me
business,
too.
and
Yeah.
you, the audience. Yeah, this is you, the audience, showing up for yours, learning something new that you can then apply in your business. So yeah.
So talk to us then about, say we only have 5 to 8 hours a week that we legit know that we can devote to
Mhm.
that back end stuff in our business. And we're online entrepreneurs. We want to be online. We want to be doing all the things. We want the Instagram. We want the reels. We want the posting. We want the lives. We want the, we want people to actually get to our website and our offers and our bio links and our link tree so that they can actually get into our ecosystem. Um, what what kind of mindset do we actually have to come to this small number of hours with so that we get the most bang for our time, for our buck?
Yeah, so the first thing when I'm talking about the mindset behind showing up is to really come down to your why. And I know that so many business things are like, start with why. And it is a great book, by the way, it totally is. That's
It
not the
is.
why that I'm talking about here. You know what I mean? I'm saying start with like the why you should even bother showing up. And I like to start here because I've had a few clients of mine, some who have become dear friends. And one of those people, a year and a half ago or so, said to me, she's like, no, no, no. I already built my brick and mortar business in her case. I got it to the successful level. I don't want to have to start over just because I'm building an online business now. And I know that that feeling is real, and I'm not going to negate it here. But if you're moving your business online, or if you're starting a brand new online business, it applies for both, right? You need to just kind of check in and say, I am committing to showing up for this. And that this right there is the why that we're talking about. So maybe that reason that you're committing to showing up is for you. Maybe it's to grow your business, and maybe it's for the greater good. These are the three categories that I like to kind of talk about here. So reasons you might be showing up for yourself, right? If you are a newer business, or if you're offering a newer style of service, maybe you've only, um, you know, made classes online for a certain kind of person, and you're moving into like a different like niche of ages, or maybe to like a different like injury level, right? I know that there's various different levels of Pilates that I've taken, and I've definitely only scratched the surface. So regardless of what you're doing, anytime you're adding something new, there's that period of time where you're like, I kind of know what I'm doing. I mean, I do really. I mean, I do, right? So like we've all been there, whatever we're talking about. So one of the best like benefits of showing up consistently is that you can't talk about what you're doing, teach what you're doing, show people what you're doing consistently without getting more confident. You will automatically become better at all of those things, knowing the content in and out, knowing how to instruct people more effectively. I don't know about you guys, but like the first time you teach something, you kind of stumble over words, and maybe you include a few bad analogies. Maybe you tell people to do things just a little bit the wrong way. And then as a result, maybe the form isn't quite perfect. And you're like, oh, wait, if I say it like this, it's like all of those things happen, right? So the more you are showing up consistently and working through these processes, the better you will get, which means the more confident you will get, which means it becomes easier for you to introduce newer things all the time. You kind of kick that whole imposter syndrome thing to the curb right there just by showing up. All right. So another reason you might be showing up for yourself is, beyond the confidence that you gain for it, when you show up consistently for yourself, your people, your audience start associating you with learning better or being a better authority or just being a person that they can depend on. So that consistency of you showing up for yourself helps build your reputation in the marketplace so that as you do move on, do other things, you kind of just naturally raise your profile up. So branding is all about building up your reputation. It's really your reputation. It's what other people think about you. And you instantly build a better personal brand, a better business brand just by showing up regularly and being something in people's heads that they can associate with a good outcome, right? And
Yes, that's a good point. That showing up regularly, helps you build the confidence to show up more regularly. Right? In the same way that teaching more Pilates classes gives you more confidence to teach Pilates classes. Showing up for those privates then gives you more confidence to teach more of those privates. Um, that it's in the almost in the action of doing it that we become more confident at it. And what most of the Pilates teachers that come to me talk to me about, Brittany, is they'll say things like, I don't know if I can do all those live videos, or I don't really like doing sales and marketing. But to another point, which comes now to your second point, is a lot of them haven't niched down, right? Pilates teachers are infamous for being generalists. We are taught from the get-go that Pilates is good for everybody. There are people whose entire brands and studios are actually built from that. They're called Pilates for everybody.
everybody, yeah.
Yes, exactly. Like they're doing that whole thing. And I'm a full believer in that. And over, 32 years of experience, believe me, I've taught men, I've taught women, I've taught all age groups, all kinds of bodies, all kinds of things. However, once I got into this online marketplace and I was sitting there for years like, come on, people, everybody knows who I am. Well, no, the people who know me know who I am. And I was like, come on, everybody knows what I do and that Pilates is good for them. Well, no, actually, everybody doesn't. So it really turned out that I had to dial it back, find my niche where, as I now have one and it's pretty well defined. And frankly, my friends, I'm selling more now that I have a narrower niche and a defined ideal client avatar than I did before. So Brittany, how can Pilates teachers really work on this kind of niching and ICA? And do you see this to be true amongst all of your service professionals, no matter what services they're providing?
Yes, like that's my short answer right there. I do.
Yeah.
So it's funny that you mentioned that you're selling more than ever now that you've niched down, and I find that is almost always the case. I mean, I could imagine if you were a Pilates instructor for elderly men who still run marathons and only drink green juice, you might have a problem selling enough in your niche. But that is a really specific example, right? So every service provider I've ever worked with who niches to a clear cut specialty finds that it's easier to sell and that they're selling more. And the reason for that is kind of why that whole showing up for your business thing matters, right? So one, no one's going to find you if you're not putting yourself out there, but also no one's going to remember you if you aren't doing something memorable, right? So like you were saying earlier, like Pilates works for everybody. Cool. Then I can go to any Pilates instructor I want. I don't have to
Thank
hire
you.
Linda,
Thank you.
So that's what
Yes.
I hear. Now I have actually taken Pilates. I've gone to classes at like Club Pilates. I've done it with like the private instructor at my gym. I've done mat Pilates, right? So I've done a decent number of generalist Pilates, and it's always been a lovely workout. But I've never had that, like, oh my gosh, this was tailored for my body workout. So my interest in spending a larger sum of money on that is not going to happen until I feel like it's tailored for me and my unique conditions.
And this
Ergo,
is even
example here.
after taking a private session. I'm just throwing it out there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
This is even after taking a private session. So for those of you
Yeah.
who are watching this or are watching the replay who are Pilates teachers in a big box gym, and I
Yeah.
have plenty of my friends who are there and they're at Equinox and they're at, New York Sports Club or whatever state sports club
Yep.
you're in,
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
doing that whole thing. And you are being, I mean, frankly, I don't even want to tell you, Brittany, how much Equinox pays for the first generalized private for their
Yeah.
teachers, because you do not want to know based on what you're paying for that. Um, but
Well, I know what they're paying the girl at my gym because we're actually friends. So
oh,
I
there
do
you go.
know.
So you know how
And they're
poor that
probably
you know
very
how
similar. Yeah.
tiny that bit is. But literally, you took a private. This was worth money. This could have been a private that could have led to you being really engaged and interested in Pilates for your particular body. It did end up with you having a new friend who works at your gym, which is great. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But that connection for even your new friends, the Pilates teacher, could have been
Yeah. I want to
lucrative.
specify the private one I've taken is I was referring to is not my current friend.
Oh,
So
okay.
I do want to
Okay.
specify that she's awesome. And I was actually just going to
Yes.
lead into a quick story. So in her case, she took her Pilates reformer like certification and training, I think 2.5 years ago. And then she
Okay.
needed to, do some examples with people. I was currently working with some incredible knee pain. I fractured my hip when I was in high school. It's a long story, but 20 years later, my opposite knee, of course, has issues because of, compensating. And you guys all know this story
Right.
probably much better than I do. But she knew my actual injuries. She knew my actual things that I was working with. And she was actually able to devise something that actually helped aid in my physical therapy that I was going through to fix my problems. And guess what? Now I can drive for more than a half hour without my knee being in excruciating pain. But that was only because she looked at how to specifically format something for that kind of injury. So this is what I'm talking about with niching, right? I will
Mm-hmm.
sing her praises to everybody else in our gym. Oh my gosh, you should go take Rachel's Pilates class. She really
Whereas
helped
the
me get out
person
of,
who taught you the private is not the person you're
yes.
going to refer to, because you got a generalized okay workout
Yeah, and
that
it was
was
it was a
okay.
good full body workout, but it wasn't specific to me and it didn't result in that magical referral that everybody is resulting in. And this is the benefit of really niching down, having a tight, clear-cut best client. And I really like to teach that, you don't need a customer avatar or a demographically based like person. You need a best client. Who is the best client that you can serve in the most effective way? My friend
Mm-hmm.
Rachel was doing her like work hours till she could like, have like, paying clients and everything. And she had the time and inclination as my friend, right? To specifically cater to my needs. So I, in that moment, was the best client for her that she could most effectively help, right? Now, obviously, you can't build a business of 40,000 people doing that, but you can build a really tight niche. And then, maybe someone who has a hip issue is like, well, I bet my knee issues are coming from my hip issue. I wonder if that would work for me. So, you start kind of building out from that really best client. It doesn't mean that they're the only person that you will ever service in your business. But when it comes to showing up consistently and creating a content and visibility plan, you want to cater that plan, cater your content, cater how you're showing up to that best client. And there might be what I call shoulder clients, right? So like I am like the best client right here. And then,
Mm-hmm.
someone who's got similar body issues, but maybe not quite an exact match, they're still going to get a whole lot of benefit from it. They're going to really enjoy your content. They're going to enjoy watching you show up and gain value from it. But I would call them like a shoulder width away. Like they're really close, just not quite
Right.
perfect. And you can still have a business that includes those people. And a really great example I've given before this. So when I fractured that hip in high school, right, I had to go to physical therapy because I couldn't walk for 4 months, and they didn't want my muscles to all atrophy. So I was in sports physical therapy, but it was like me and 30 middle-aged people who blew out their knees snowboarding. That is who was in that room getting physical therapy. It was 15-year-old Britney and a bunch of 35 and 40-year-olds. And it was all because, they hadn't been using their bodies. They decided to go snowboarding with a friend. They
Right.
maybe overdo it a little bit, right? But I looked around at that and I was like, I am not this clinic's target. And I didn't know those terms. Like I wasn't in marketing at the time. I looked around and I was like, wait, I, by a weird fluke accident, have the same injuries as a lot of these people. But I also said, I don't want to be them in 20 years. Right. So
Right.
I was able to get the same benefit that they were getting, plus a little extra, even though I wasn't like the perfect demographic. And that's why I really like to talk about your best client and shoulder clients. So if you're worried about niching down and you're worried like I don't want to exclude all these other people, just keep in mind, I healed, right? I was never supposed to run again. I can run. I mean, I choose not to, but I can.
But
So
good.
yeah, right. So if you're worried about niching down too far though, just remember like there's your best client and that's who you're catering, you're showing up to. And then there's all the people surrounding that best client who you can still help. But when it comes to becoming memorable to that best client, you have to make sure that the things you're talking about, the services that you're offering, and yes, even the decisions that you're making have to make sense for that best client. And that's really the mindset behind showing up, that once you understand that one thing, everything else becomes easier. Because then if you're approached by Linda and Linda's like, hey, I'd really like to have you on my show, you can be like, okay, is this going to be seen by people who could use my help? Yes. Is this going to help the people who could use my help? Yes. Okay, cool. I will be on Linda's show. Right? So every other decision in your business becomes easier once you know who you're talking to and how you can best serve them. And that's when we get to that third category of showing up, that third why, for the greater good. Right? I don't know a single Pilates instructor. I don't know actually a single fitness instructor that I've like talked with and built a relationship with who isn't doing what they're doing because they don't passionately believe in what they're doing. Right? Like you've chosen Pilates as a way to change lives, to help people
Right.
feel good about themselves, to give them that empowered way of living, right? And there's various ways you can describe that, but what it really comes down to is you want to help people. I feel the same way about my business. I, through 20 years of being an entrepreneur, have kind of happened into this content creation niche, and I love being able to help people do that. I really truly love taking a business who's like, I feel like I've got all the tools, I'm skilled, I know what I'm good at, and people just aren't finding me. When I help them move from that place to, hey, look, I'm really busy. Now I got to figure out how to like be less busy because I'm helping so many people. Like that's a different problem, right?
Yes.
But if I've taken you from A to, M on that journey, I am thrilled. It means that I am helping you and you are turning around and helping more people. And for the greater good, like how can you do better than that, right? So those are your three levels of like why you're going to be consistently showing up for you, for your business, and for the greater good so you can help more people.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times I find that, especially with fitness and Pilates folks, um, they're all looking for a direct correlation, right? They literally want, I send out the email, somebody buys something. I make a post, somebody buys something. And the fact of it is that's not actually how it works, right? It takes people
Rarely.
usually, right. I mean, and when it does, it's because it's actually somebody who's been following you for a while, who just
Mhm.
at that moment got the thing and thought, oh, I should just sign up for this before I space it out like I did last time, or, or I now have time to deal with it. It's rarely people who have just shown up and are like, awesome, I saw this one thing. Because when do we buy that way? We don't. That's why that's why companies spend so much money on television commercials and internet commercials, right? And all of those things. So we can remember Flow from Progressive or the Geico Gecko
Hmm.
or when I was a kid it was Ronald McDonald's and there was an actual Burger King, remember? I don't know
Hmm.
if you remember this, but
Yep.
when Burger King came out, the King was actually on a bunch of their marketing and that led
Yep.
to the crown and that whole situation. um and these are, I remember this marketing from my youth. Right,
Yeah.
because it was so kind of instilled in me. And now it's like when I see a thing for like the Ronald McDonald House, right, which is just such a fabulous way that that company has decided to give back and on so many levels and have been for so many decades. It actually takes me back to my childhood and reminds me about when those houses were first starting and
Hmm.
when McDonald's decided to take that turn in their business. And regardless of how I might feel about fast food and the fast food industry and whatever else, I'm going to tell you something right now. There is a little warm spot in me for McDonald's and for Ronald McDonald and for doing that sort of community, local yet global level work to help individual families whose kids are dealing with serious health issues and where they would just all like to be together in the same space, right? Like this should not be too much to ask.
100%.
And if, again, you may sit there going, but I'm going on too much or it's too much or whatever. There are times when you could be watching one television show and you'll see the same commercial for the same brand more than once. And
Yep.
that's not done by mistake. That's done strategically because the more they're in your face and the more you hear the music and the more you get the association, right, the more you're going to think of them. And it is the exact same way for us. There is no difference. And the more that I'm out there, just Linda Lippin Pilates, Linda Lippin Pilates, Strong Bones, Pilates Teacher Mastermind, more and more people start to show up. But you also, I think, Brittany, it's so important, and you really touched on this so well, that we need to be creating content for our best customer, our
Yes.
best customer. And remember that, guys, because seriously, the story you told, earlier about your first Pilates private from one of the, trainers in your gym, I'm assuming on apparatus as well, not being so great.
Hmm.
Or being okay, but not being memorable, not being what propelled you into, say, being interested in Pilates, right?
Yes.
Whereas the teacher who is literally still in training, right, still an apprentice, was able to creatively come up with a plan for you to have less knee pain.
Yeah.
And it worked.
And it
And
worked.
now, and now you remember Pilates very fondly, and it's something you might actually do again at some point because
Yeah.
you had that great experience targeted toward you. So for all of you out there who are teaching general mat classes, general online, like just come do Pilates with me, or what I almost find worse actually for me is everybody who does the performative Pilates posts with crazy advanced exercises that you and I might look at, even me, as a, close to 55-year-old with some physical issues. And I would be like, I'm not doing that. That's not happening. And why would I want to work with you since this is clearly what you focus on?
Yeah.
So, what happens when we give the wrong image?
Well, I mean, giving the wrong image, I mean, obviously it runs the risk of just alienating that audience member. I mean, just straight up, like you said,
Right.
yeah, no, I'm not going to do that, right? Like that's problem number one. Problem number two is it can give your entire, not niche, but your entire industry a bad name, right? So, I mean, imagine someone being poorly instructed on how to use a reformer machine injuring themselves on it and being like, oh, no, no, that stuff's bad. That hurts people. I mean, that's an uphill battle that the next person has to teach. And that's no fun for anyone to have to overcome those kinds of things, right? So, there is that, but there's also the risk of just people not quite understanding, right? So, like you were saying, like, Linda Lippin, bone health, Linda Lippin, 55 Pilates, right? Like, those are things that you want to be associated with, right? If you're not really clear about that, then you're just Linda Lippin who teaches Pilates. And then you go back into that kind of like generalist, like not memorable zone. And since we're on our kind of body examples here, I'll give you a recent one. So my husband had an impinged nerve situation. He's well, still dealing with. He's been dealing with it all summer, and it's been not so lovely, as you might imagine, right? And he's just been in weird amounts of pain in weird places, and then it moves. And one of these days after it had moved, he was like, my arm just hurts. And I was like, okay, your arm hurts. I'm sorry. Like, I'll take the trash out. It's cool. Like, he's like, no, it burns. And I was like, wait, does it hurt or does it burn? Because yesterday you were talking about tingles. And
Mm.
I was just unclear for like days. Obviously, he was in pain. I mean, he was clearly miserable. That much I got, but I just didn't really understand. And then I went and did my regular blood donation, and I came home and I was like, ugh, yeah, they totally moved the needle while it was on my arm. Oh, that burning. He's like, that is what my arm feels like. It feels like the burning when they accidentally move the needle in your arm while you're donating blood. Now, that is a highly specific description of the pain that he was in. Now, you're not talking about blood donations in your work, right? But imagine that if you like went live like this, or maybe even just did a feed post on Instagram or Facebook or some such, and said something along the lines of, hey, have you felt that burning? All you're doing is sitting at your desk. You move a tiny centimeter and it feels like someone is moving a needle across your arm inside. That is probably a nerve related issue. And I can't fix it completely, but I can relieve the stress on the surrounding areas and decrease that pain so it doesn't feel like a burning anymore, more like a dull ache.
Mm-hmm.
That is a specific thing that you can show up and talk about. That is a
Right.
specific pain point that your client might be having. And if you get them with that specificity, they not only remember you, they automatically associate you as part of the solution. So maybe they weren't considering a Pilates class with you. Maybe they were. Maybe if they weren't at all, you suddenly become like an option in their world. If they were already considering it, you suddenly move from, hey, that's a maybe, to a, oh no, I must buy this. And I like to tell people all the time, your content, your showing up, right? It needs to do some heavy lifting in your business. It needs to do some work for you. Because if not, why the heck are you spending time on it, right? If I'm going to spend time showing up, if I'm going to take one of my, meager 8 hours a week and
Yeah.
show up, it needs to have a result. Now, obviously, we would love it if that one live, books you 5 clients. It's not always going to be like that. Sometimes you do need to stack effect and result so that you become that must instead of a maybe. But when you have a system in place in your business for not only showing up consistently, but being able to measure results, you're going to start seeing which kinds of content consistently deliver those results. And even if you can't tie it to a specific post or a specific live, you're going to see, oh, I was talking about a specific kind of pain here. And funny, in the next 3 weeks, I had an uptick in inquiries. Those are the kinds of things that you really want to do. And that right there is why we show up consistently. So that one, you become less of a maybe in someone's mind and more of a must. And two, so we can start figuring out which kind of content is actually driving bookings.
Indeed. I also, and I want to kind of point out to folks that, Joseph Pilates actually did a lot of this kind of consistent outreach. It's if you look back in the press, you see there was a lot of Time Life articles, a lot of and within the Time Life family, Sports Illustrated, like magazine Time, all of those devoted to Joseph Pilates and devoted to the Pilates method. There were press releases from the New York Times showing when they opened the studio in Bendels. I mean, note that Joe did make very strategic decisions about when he was going to expand his business. So when it went from his studio, it didn't go from his studio to just anywhere. It went from his studio to a second outlet at Bendels so that the ladies could go, they could go do their workout, they could have lunch, they could see the personal shopper. It could all happen at one time, and it was awesome. It was great. So, and he also spoke to specific groups. He spoke to dancers. He spoke to the office executives. He spoke to the folks who were in back pain, the folks who were in neck pain. He called it, the problem with just like modern society, right, was that we weren't moving around a lot and we were sitting at our desks all the time. Basically, exactly what we're having now. Right? But again, it's that consistent targeting, that consistent talking to the person who is your ideal client. And if you're putting out content and you're putting out content and you're putting out content and you're getting crickets, chances are you're not talking to that ideal client. You're not. So, Brittany, talk to me a little bit about what services you do provide for your clients online, and then how folks can get in touch with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I do two things. I do content strategy and I build funnels for my clients online. So content strategy, I have a content system template that I can sell. I can work with you one-on-one to create your own content and visibility plan. And I also run a group program called Content Lab every month that helps you create your own content plan. That's kind of like the middle road of those two things that I was just talking about. So you can find out about all of these options, as well as download my free content cheat sheet called Content Creation RX on my website at BritneyGardner.com, Britney, Gardner.com. And if you need help with any of those things, even if you just have a question that kind of came up while we were on this live broadcast, I am more than happy to answer those questions. And if something is right for you to kind of start diving in and really working on this, that's great. But don't feel like you can't reach out even if you're not ready for it. I really, truly love hearing people's feedback.
Well, that's awesome. And I want to remind everybody about that, because I have to tell you, Brittany, that another thing that kind of happens within the Pilates world is that teachers don't really, up until recently, don't really talk to each other that much. There's a lot of infighting. There's just a lot of weirdness. A lot of there's not so many clients, and we're all fighting for them. So it kind of turns into this very dog eat dog thing that is not really true to Pilates or helpful for anybody, because I can't teach more than I can't hold more than 10 or 15 clients at a time, and I don't know anyone else who can. So everybody else can feel free to take the other several million that aren't the 12 to 15 that I can handle at any given time. And I think it's just all of the things that we're talking about today are so just so crucial to having any kind of business. When I first started, there was no internet. Let's just be real. When I first started, there was no internet. But did that mean that I didn't have to engage in visibility? Absolutely not. So what did I do? I would write letters to the editor if there was an interesting article on sports or fitness. I would I did for several local newspapers, I wrote an advice column for health and fitness and answered questions. Okay. I had a few clients who were in PR, and then I was able to connect with some TV gigs, morning show gigs, other things.
Yeah.
But I had to be ready on the fly for that stuff, because they would literally call you up and be like, we're sending a film crew over tomorrow, or can you be at the studio live tomorrow? Whatever that looked like. And, it was just a matter of always being ready and always being on. So it's not like publicity's changed, really. I mean, we just have more avenues. We can do it more freely. And I think we just get cowed by the fact that there were so many other people doing it. So just as a final question, how can, I know there's so many, but this is it, I'm stopping it here. How can Pilates teachers really work on staying in their own lane and kind of putting on those blinders and not looking at what Betty and Joe and everybody else are doing in the other lanes?
I mean, I would say number one thing is what separates you from the next Pilates instructor. Are you passionate more about overall joint health? Are you passionate about lower back injuries? Are you passionate about decreasing headaches? I mean, there are so many things that you can focus on. Talk about it. Get really comfortable talking about it. Figure out what people are responding to. Maybe they're not responding to the lower back pain message, but they are responding to the bend over and pick up your grandchild message. You know what I mean? So there's different ways of talking about these things, and you just pay attention to what works. And I think you're gonna find, like Linda, that you'll be selling more than ever once you've got that message really nailed down.
Well, Brittany, thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing up today. See, the mindset of showing up, for showing up today here on the live streams, for helping the Pilates teachers and frankly other service business owners who are watching the live and who will watch the replays. I will, of course, tag you. I will be putting this on Instagram Live. Thanks, Elaine. I just had to thank you, Linda and Brittany. You're welcome. I'm so glad to have had Brittany on. I so hope that this was helpful for all of you. It was helpful for me, so I'm assuming it was helpful for all of you. I just go by that. It worked for me. I assume it works for other people too. And I will see all of you guys soon. And I will drop a link to Brittany's website in the comments to the video, so you guys will all have it. And I will see you guys soon. Bye, guys. Brittany, just hang on Restream for a second after.
Yep.
And we will see you guys soon. Have a great one. Bye.